Ncrp Productions presents the Fireside Chat series. Hey, this is Barry.
And this is Pedro.
Welcome back to our Fireside Chat series. Once again, Pedro, we've done the worst and have gone a few months without doing a Fireside Chat.
No, I think we did one and then the file got deleted. I think that sounds better.
That's it. Yeah, we're going with that story. Well, so in the interim, there's a few things going on. What are you watching these days?
All right, I just caught The Last of Us.
Oh,
was the most recent thing.
Yes.
And yeah, that was amazing. So I played the games. So
Okay.
I played both of them, 1 and 2. I loved them both. And watching them bring that to... So there was some talk ahead of time on some changes they were doing.
Okay.
So like in the game... For instance, one of the things was like spore areas, which anybody with science, which is the reason they changed it, would say it probably wouldn't happen. There's these areas you'd explore that were like, I always looked at it, they were super sealed off and there's spores all in the air.
Okay.
People go in there, you have to put a gas mask on. For the show, they, also spoilers, we're going to talk a little bit about the show, but for the show they changed that because it didn't really mesh realistically that these spores were just kind of stuck in an area.
Did they change it, though? And here's what I'm asking. So at the end of the first episode, they did what all of these shows are doing these days, and they showed us, this season on The Last of Us. And if you remember, there are a couple shots in there where the spore growth is pretty strong. So are we for sure not going to see spore rooms?
Maybe not. It'd be interesting. I had heard that I think it was the writer specifically was saying that it was going to be different, so not necessarily the same. And I mean, like, it was like walking into a light mist in the game where you had to put on a mask or you will die. You will be infected within a second.
Okay.
But watching it, so you never played the game, right?
I haven't. Like most things, I have no time to play video games.
So the intro they did was so perfectly like the game. So so in the beginning, except for because right after we watched that, Sequoia and we downloaded the game, and started playing. We are gonna play the game along with the show.
Okay, so the show is currently written in kind of episodes based on storylines in the game?
Yeah.
Like
so
here's story 1, here's story 2?
It does change some things, but where we ended, we found the spot effectively where in the show it kind of would have ended. So it was close enough. What I loved was I had forgotten exactly everything in the beginning. So in the show they do a lot more, which thankfully, character development. So in the game, you just kind of go from the scene of the daughter, whose name I'm blanking right now, giving her dad the watch, and then shit hits the fan. So we don't get the build up as much, but we really it made it a lot more tragic because and again, spoilers, you know what happens, that his daughter,
things happen to his daughter,
things happen. So she passes, but in the game, I mean, when I first played that game, I cried. Like, it was so powerful in the game because I was like, okay, we gotta go. It's hectic, just like the show. You're just trying to run, trying to survive, and you're like, the one thing I have to do is save this kid, and the one thing you can't do is save that damn kid. So, and yeah, it was heavy in the show. Even heavier because you have the build-up, you have the extra character building, and also the shot in the show of kind of like the back seat from the daughter's view.
Sure.
Exactly like the video game. So in the video game, when you get into the
car,
you're seeing from the girl's point of view effectively, and you're watching your dad and the Uncle Tommy like talking and being like, "What the fuck are we gonna do?"
Wow.
So and like the little things like the burning farmhouse that was in the game too. They're like, "Oh shit, that's the so and so's." Oh no, they probably got out. Like, it was just so point to point the same, but expanded on.
Did you watch? So I have HBO, and I've been watching these on a lot of their shows. On HBO, they have these end things where they talk to the director or the writer or that type of thing. And at the end of this one, I thought it was brilliant. They talked about what they did to set up. Again, hitting spoilers here, but the death of the daughter is the setup for dealing with the girl. I think the name is Elle or Ellie.
Ellie, yeah.
Ellie is kind of the antithesis of his daughter, and they really talk about that.
Yeah, okay, see, I did not know that was on there. I want to go watch that now.
If you watch it on HBO, they tell you right in the scene if you'd like to see extras.
I did pay enough attention to that. You hit those credits and I just turned it off. So, and remembering the game, like, because I played the second one, you effectively play Ellie in the future, so you get to see what she becomes.
Okay.
And watching this is going to be so interesting to see what path and how they take it, because if they take it like the games, things are going to get real interesting.
Well, I mean, seeing those previews was almost as exciting as watching the episode, knowing, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, and just the little things that they put in. I didn't notice this, and I'm wondering if you did. So they talk in the show, and so in the game, you find out about the virus through like little tidbits, and one of the things that you learn is that the virus the fungus grew and stemmed and propagated in a bad crop. And so it was I think it was a wheat crop, because if you pay attention in the show, and so I had to watch a TikTok to find this out, think about what happened. So in the beginning, they didn't have the pancake mix. Okay. The dad didn't want to eat the biscuit. Oh, I'm on Atkins. The girl didn't eat the cookies. They effectively avoided all these different flour-based things that could have led them to being infected, which I thought was an interesting tidbit. And they even in the show, I think it was just in a newspaper clipping, I'll have to go back, but it shows something about bad crops. So it just also, did that intro of the like scientists talking about the fungus not scare you too? Like it was like I understand that this is, there's, you have to take some leaps, but they sold that.
So my degree is in molecular biology, and I went to a university where fungus are a major thing, psilocybin mostly, but fungus still. And it was very strange watching that. It was eerie to me because I felt like watching that I had seen that interview. I feel like that was taken, and if it wasn't, wow. But I feel like it was taken just about frame for frame from, like a Johnny Carson type show or something like that from the late 60s. Yeah. But it was a brilliant setup because immediately you realize where they're going. And the fungus on the ants, that's real.
Oh, yeah, no, I've
seen
zombie
that. Ants
it's
are real.
Terrifying. And, like, I remember, so that beginning part, you're watching and you're listening, you're like, they're talking, and then the guy's effectively like, oh, but it can't survive in the temperatures of our body. It can't survive high temperatures. And then the guy just hits back with, oh, but what about, evolution through the rising temperatures of global warming? And I'm like...
And the other guy just didn't say a word.
Yeah, I think him and the audience probably all went, oh, shit, that's a good point.
So did you ever get to see, there was a show on Fox called The Passage.
No.
The humor for me is the lead character was Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell. It's that actor.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So it drew me to watch it just because, hey, look, Zach's in it. But there was an interesting story in that. I don't want to spoiler that one because you need to go check that one out. And the novels are great. There's 3 novels that I know of really well done. But in the show, I was wondering because in the book, there's a time jump. And in the show, they did the time jump, but they matched the time jump to the end of season 1. Oh. There was never a season 2, sadly, which bummed me out because the vast portion of all the cool stuff happens after the time jump.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see they did that. And have you noticed a lot of shows are doing that? The Game of Thrones, the new one, the House of the Dragon. There's a lot of time jumps in that one.
I still need to catch that. I've heard mixed things. I've heard that it's awesome, and I've heard, but who knows whether the complaints.
Here's what I will tell you on that Game of Thrones one. All of this stuff's come out since last we talked.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you with Game of Thrones, I started not liking it at the beginning. I was really kind of pissed that they went through and just about redid the first half of Game of Thrones. As we sat in the King's Chamber, or the the Little Council, I think they called it.
Yeah,
I've forgotten the name
like
of it.
that.
And I'm going around the room. I'm like, oh, that's this guy. That's this guy. That's this guy. Oh, he's going to do this. And they mostly kind of did that. And I think it was around episode 4, and I will not spoil that, but episode, I think it's 4, there is such a dramatic, like if you're sitting here in the morning eating your cornflakes, you're going to be like dropping the spoon and spilling the cornflakes when you hear this. I mean, it's such a jarring thing that happens. But at that point, it actually becomes its own. And of course, the time jump, again, like all of these shows, is being done for a purpose, and I think they do a great job with it. So for me, I felt that Game of Thrones, The House of the Dragon, got better as we ran through the season. And let me tell you, I was watching with Dave, who runs our Shadowrun game. Dave and I were watching the last episode, and the thing that happens to end the season, holy shit. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Okay, I'll give it a
Unbelievable.
chance then.
And, I just realized also in that time for TV, so much good TV, so much expensive good TV, but so much TV out that's going to be amazing down the line. Rings of Power, did you get to see that?
I haven't, but I've heard a lot more negative than positive about it.
Okay.
Have you caught it?
Well, so here's what I'll tell you. My understanding is they spent something like $1 billion on the series, and I prefer a show where you spend more money on the writing than the special effects, but wow, the special effects in that show, wow. I'm watching a series called The Outpost right now, and I think it initially aired as a WB show, or I guess it's not WB anymore, it's the other thing that WB became. But anyway, it's the CW.
Oh, okay.
And when I watch that, and then I go ahead and watch the 100, the quality of the special effects on the 100 is incredible, fairly modern. It looks like what we're doing now on, amazing shows like The Expanse. The Outpost, I am not kidding you. I'm watching it and I'm thinking back to the Xena Hercules series, the syndicated stuff from the early 2000s, and thinking, some of the Xena Hercules monsters are better than some of the things they're doing. I don't understand how you can have that huge disparity. And folks, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not on the CW because I'm watching on something called Freevee as of this point. So I'm not sure where it originally came from. But another odd, interesting show. And I've forgotten where I was going with that. See, this is what happens when we freeform our stuff.
Well, that's a perfect segue to get to some other fun things.
Right. So we are... Our future plans, our close future plans, Ncrp Productions is planning on attending DunDraCon. I believe it's 46.
That's right. We'll be there.
This is the long-running convention, and I believe we talked to everyone last year when I came back from it.
Yeah.
But this year, you're going to go with us.
Yep, this year I'm going to get to go down, get to play in some games. I decided not to run any or put him to run any, but I wanted to experience the game. So.
Yeah, I think Dave is going to run something. If you're heading down there and you're hearing this, which you should before we go down, he is supposed to be running the Bunkers and Badasses game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right,
yeah.
right. And you know what that comes from, right?
That
little
from
game?
the Borderlands, which then stemmed Tiny Tina's, which then stemmed Bunkers and Badasses.
Yeah,
so.
And he's really excited about what he's going to run. He's running, I believe, an 8-hour session for that.
Nice.
But for us going down, we are going to go down in force. As of right now, it looks like you and I, Dave and David, who runs our Star Wars, Ty, who's in a number of our games, currently the Star Wars game, but he also ran for us the...
it's Endless Suns? No.
He ran the Fading Suns for us.
Fading Suns, that's it.
Right. And so it should be a really fun group. We're going to get to go play. We're going to be there decked out in our brand new Ncrp production shirts. So we'll see how that goes. Hoping it's going to be a lot bigger than last year. Last year it was curtailed fairly heavily by COVID. We had been told from the people who run the admissions that there might have been 30% of the people who had signed up to attend just flat out did not come. And when we were there last year, Santa Clara was the last county in the state of California that still had mask mandate up. Now, interestingly enough, I'm not sure I agree with this, but this is, I'm going to go into their convention, so I get to follow their rules. The county of Santa Clara does not currently have a mask mandate. The hotel that we're staying at does not currently have a mask mandate. But DunDraCon itself is imposing a mask mandate. So it'll be interesting. We're all going to talk like Darth Vader.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm on the side of being all right with the mask. I mean, I work in healthcare, so I've just gotten used to it. I mean, I've been wearing it every day for years now. So
you're just comfortable with it.
I'm just like, I'm whatever. Honestly, sometimes I'll like get home or something and still have it on, and then it's quite to be like, why do you still have your mask on? I'm like, oh shit, just take that off, or So yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be the biggest con I've been to. So I mean, the only one I've actually been to is the OhanaCon that came here to
our
little casino.
Our little comic
I mean, it was super fun, and I even ran a game for that. There was a small little gaming room.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was fun, but it wasn't the cons that I've heard about.
Yeah, and again, DunDraCon is not Gen Con, which we intend to get to that level. If we get our Patreon working a little better than it currently is, get some more subscribers to the Patreon. Hopefully at some point we're going to get to go out there.
Yeah. And actually just really touching on that has been something exciting this year.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Well, just the increase. So thank you all the listeners out there, because we've been seeing the listenership spike, and especially over the last few months, and it's been great because we were happy to see 5 people listen.
I was happy to see that anyone was listening to us.
Anybody that wasn't just like us.
Right.
So but it's really nice to see that people are enjoying our stuff enough to listen to it.
Sure.
So thank you all. I wanted to take aside for that because it's great. So we're looking forward to another good year of content for y'all.
And on that note, one of the current podcast stories that we are doing is our Morkborg Pirate Board.
Yeah.
So Limithron put out Pirate Board for Free League's Morkborg game, and Mike has been running for us the game that's kind of a mix of the two. We're using things from Morkborg, but we're using a lot of stuff from Pirate Borg, and then a few adventures from different things. Mike makes sure that he tells everyone which is which. But he is on Reddit and was speaking with the Limithron guys, and they listened to, I guess, the first episode. Hopefully they've listened to all of them. If you guys haven't, that's what a shame. It gets better. But they had said, they actually had a comment. So we have a comment from the game designers on one of our podcasts, and that blew me through the roof.
That was a good morning. That was a good morning to wake up to.
So that's what's currently coming out for us. Morkborg comes out on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays at 10.
And we just finished our Star Wars Season 1.
Yeah.
That was 14 episodes we put up for that. We're currently in the process of getting Season 2 up and ready to go. Coming in the near future, or as fast as we can get things done, we have Torg. We are doing a day one. We've invited, you haven't gotten to hear him yet, but Greg has graciously decided to run for us the day one. We won't spoil which day one it is, but one of the day one adventures for us. And that is that's kind of a mini series that we're doing. We have Season 2 Star Wars, as I said, starting to get worked on. Shadowrun Season 3.
Season 3.
We're going to bring that one up. And then, as always, we know sometime in the future we are going to have Fallout.
Yes, that's in slow production, but yes.
It will come out.
We
promise it will come out. That kind of leads me to one of those things that was a change for us. So when we started, one of the things that we had really focused on was when you do a search for podcasts for Dungeons & Dragons, you come up with over 35,000 results on, I use Google, I mean, there's a ton of other searches, so I'm sure they're pretty similar, but over 35,000 actual play podcasts, TTRPGs, the things that we do. And I just felt like we should steer clear of it, not because there was anything wrong with Dungeons & Dragons, not because we don't respect the things that these other people do, but it's getting coverage. And in reality, our gaming group, which some of us have been playing together since 2003 and spanning out, we don't really as a group play D&D. So for the first 2 years of the podcast, we just finished up our second year, we've really steered clear of D&D. And then my son approached me and said, "Hey, Dad, what about playing D&D?"
And then Barry just buckled.
I buckled. I will admit I have quite a few of the books. I'm literally staring at them on the far side of the room. And so because of that, Dave had offered to run for us our first D&D. Now, legitimately, you could say Pugmire was our first.
Yeah, close, but I'll make it different enough. It's all dogs.
Right. And we do have Pugmire. The third installment is being worked on still.
Yes.
So we do know that that's coming. But the D&D, Dave is running a short adventure for us. We're expecting it to be under 10 episodes, and it will be our first foray into Dungeons & Dragons. And we'll see how it gets received. I'm not against doing more. Quietly, something that's happened, we run a few of our games not podcasts. There's some times when we just want to take a breather, and we don't have to be on camera. And actually, I'm going to tell you the truth, some of our friends that come and play with us don't want to be recorded. They think they sound weird on... I keep telling everyone, everybody sounds weird to themselves on mic.
Yeah, I got a nasally ass voice.
Right. But we haven't been recording it. But what we did is we have been running a D&D game, and I took my turn at it for a few months. And arguably, I'm going to admit it, 5th edition, I'm enjoying. I wouldn't lie to you about that. D&D is not something I do. Played no 4th edition, extremely limited 3.5, a small campaign that somebody ran, even less 3.0, and even less of the 2 and 2.5. In fact, when I started... way back yonder in 79, I only played D&D for about 5 months, and I found Gamma World. So
yeah, and then you've always been more of a post-apoc person.
Everything but fantasy.
Yeah.
But right now I'm enjoying it. So we may have more D&D coming to the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly like you said. I don't have anything against D&D. I mean, my I think we've covered it. My intro was 3.5, and then I did play 4, and much to my players, I'm sure, regret in a way. But I evolved. That was my time when my idea was of D&D was really room fight.
Sure.
Yeah, everybody goes through that phase.
They start there.
So, and then, Pathfinder was big for me too. So I've 5e. I mean, I've loved D&D. I don't think we're gonna cover it, but recent events with D&D.
I was gonna ask, do we wanna go on mic? Is there anything that stands out for you? I mean, there are a few things for me, but is there anything that stands out for you that you want to talk about?
I think the only thing I think I would have worth saying on that for just myself is that they showed their hand. Wizards showed their hand, and then is now trying to take it back. But they showed their hand, and now I don't really have much trust in them. Like, mind you, it's a corporation. I didn't have a lot of trust in the first place, but the OGL was something really nice. It gave people a lot of options, and then they tried to take that away. It's like, okay, you guys being assholes here. So I enjoy the products. I doubt I'm gonna go for one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that.
That's a future podcast for us. There's not enough stuff out for that.
So, but yeah, I think my main thing is it really soured my taste on D&D.
Well, all right. So the important things though, when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons and our podcast. Did you burn your 5th edition books?
No.
And neither did I.
I am still going to enjoy the products I have. I am much less inclined to want to support any further.
Okay.
But
well, for me, let me throw in the other side of it. As everyone knows, I run a retail store. 5th edition has been one of the best-selling D&D products. I have been selling products since 2nd edition. Okay, I've been involved in the industry longer, but I've been involved as a retailer since 2nd edition. At 5th edition, the sales on 5th edition, meaning the physical number, I don't worry about the value, the cost. It's a $50 book. 2nd edition were $20 books. That's not what's important. Just the physical number of books going out, the physical number of people coming in and asking, the number of people that I have never seen. My store has been in business for 32 years, and there are people weekly that I have never seen before. That it's winter up here and it frickin' rains and there's constantly landslides and we're mostly landlocked. So I'm reasonably confident that every person that's coming in I haven't seen is not a tourist. And with that in mind, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, probably because of Critical Role, probably because of some of the other people out there, has really blown up. And so my hope, both as the store and then just as a person who loves gaming, who has loved gaming for 40 plus years, my hope is that Wizards of the Coast is going to look at what's happened and react to it in a positive way. And I'll tell you this. I just saw something that came out today. It was on Twitter, but it's from somebody that appears to be reasonably high up in the Wizards hierarchy, and it sounds like they are dialing it back. The latest thing I saw, and I don't want to pass judgment on, is this true? Is this, too late, too little, too late, those kind of things. There's tons and tons and tons, good Lord, of podcasts out there decrying this, coming against them. What I will say is the current thing that I read just today as we're recording it was saying that they are dialing it back, that their main concern, and I'd like to give them credit that this is what they're really for, their main concern is to have some control over how people produce written product and how it affects the community at large. Things like hate speech and non-inclusive content. So they are still reserving the right in this upcoming OGL SRD. They are reserving the right to be able to stop someone from producing something that they find offensive. Now, we do have the problem of we don't know what's offensive for them, but we're going to hope that offensive doesn't mean you're making a ton of money, we find you offensive, stop. Mm-hmm. We hope it's really things that we should be offended at.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, ultimately, yes, I want to hope for the best and everything. It's one of those things where if in 2 months, it comes out or they're trying to do something else, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Well, so I have heard that there was an insider at Hasbro that had sent a memo around, and the memo, though insulting, really, honestly, I think hits the industry right in its intelligence zone, and that is the memo said in 2 months, no one's going to remember this. Now, do I believe literally no one? Absolutely not. I think there are people that are going to scream and cry about this until they lose their memories. Mm-hmm. But I think the vast majority of the people walking into my store probably don't even know about this fight, this argument, and they're still coming in and enjoying it. So with that in mind, again, we're not going to shy away from 5e stuff, and even less than we were before, because we're kind of enjoying what we're doing with it.
Yeah, I'll still play it, I'll still run it, but yeah, the future is interesting. I'm interested.
So some other things that I know we're working on, we started a Dune podcast.
Yeah.
The game started. It's an interesting mix of different people from a bunch of our different podcasts. We felt that it was going to be a good mix on mic, but getting that group together on a regular basis has been nigh on impossible. So it's going to be a while before we get the episodes out. Might be a Fallout type thing, but we are expecting to do that. We enjoyed the Torg Day 1 so much. Greg has graciously said that he is going to come back and run a Torg campaign for us. And if you are a Torg fan, this is going to be, I think, a huge undertaking. It's going to be a huge undertaking, but I think it's going to be an amazing game. Greg has played, like I have, back all the way to the West End Games days, and had played with a number of people who had learned at the feet of the people from West End Games. We had people that attended Gen Con, played in the con-sponsored games from WEG, and then brought that knowledge back and played with both Greg and I and a number of other people. His intention is to run the Torg campaign. If you don't know that much about Torg, I ask you go out and look into it, find a
super cool setting.
It is. It was kind of West End Games' answer to Rifts, although it's not Rifts. But Greg is going to take us through, if it works right, a Delphi Council walk through all the cosms. We are looking at adventures in each of the cosms, so we're going to have to cross the Eternity Bridges to get into each of the cosms, and then also back to Core Earth, back and forth, back and forth. That one I can't wait for.
Yeah, the lore, that was my favorite thing, was reading the lore and I think I spent some time with that book just because I read a little bit and then it just caught me.
Oh my God, it does.
And so I've taken a peek. I wasn't in the Torg game, but I've taken a listen to the intro, and Greg does a great job of actually explaining the lore at a basic level, and it's in depth, but he does a good summary of it.
When our Torg miniseries does come out, I recommend any of you to listen to that beginning just to get a feel for Torg that's going to be in the first episode, just to get a feel for what Torg is, because it really is an amazing game. It's an undertaking to be a game master running that game, but they've done a very good job. That's Ulysses Spiel, our friends that did the Fading Suns game, and I think they did an amazing job with it.
Oh, yeah. Something else coming up, which is kind of it's a fun and quirky one, like when we did Honey Heist. So one day we were sitting around, I think it was after a Mork board game, but we
Isn't everything after a Mork board game?
Talking about just random things, and I was scrolling through some of my random RPGs I have, and I had forgotten about it, and I remembered that way back, Wendy's of all places put out an RPG.
That's right.
Feast of Legends RPG. So, and anybody, it's free to download. Just go search Feast of Legends. I highly recommend it. It is a fine chef's kiss of corporate propaganda mixed with somebody who whoever wrote this definitely played, role-playing games, put a lot of heart and soul into it, but while also definitely exemplifying the sheer corporateness of it. It's the whole premise is, at least for the base, because there's a whole adventure you can go through.
Inside the main game?
Yeah, in the main book, you get, which it has the player's book and the game master's guide. They have this whole little world built out, which I'm going to be running that, and I'm having fun expanding it.
Are we going to be running the adventure from the main game?
No. So what we're doing in the little bit I can give you is that it will be several months after the main game, and
so that's several months after the events in the first game,
and you guys will be playing the heroes that vanquished that foe.
We'll have a background.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's super funny and fun. Like, the health potions are chicken nuggets. Like, the classes are different. The classes are called orders, and there's the, what is it? Order of the chicken, and, the fiery chicken. There's everything is themed after the orders in the restaurant. All of the armor is like armored, like forks or burger buns, things like that. The first adventure saw you going to fight the ice clown, who is bringing the deep freeze across the land. He's tired of the fresh beef, and it's much easier to have frozen beef. But good Queen Wendy, the clapback queen as they call her, will not stand for that, as she is all about, as her kingdom of Freshtovia is about fresh beef. And so the whole setting is about fighting back the deep freeze as it tries to take over. And the map, they only talk briefly in what they have of like Freshtovia and kind of like the French fry forest around it, things like that. But they have this beautiful map and it looks like a burger, which is great.
Oh, the map?
Yeah, the map looks like a burger. But you have like little things like the twin cities of Carl, like, and they're like little stars. There's the like Temple of the Panda. There's a place called the Box. Like, they have all of these places that are just kind of spread out, and and something fun I'm doing is I happened to look in a corner of the map, and I was like, well, this is perfect for me to put in my own little area. So I'll be creating my own area that's not on the map, but I'll keep that as a surprise for right
all right,
now.
so you're not going to tell us what the name is?
You think I
that
should?
We're going? Well, I don't know. That's up to you.
Okay, I'll tell you the name. You'll be going to the Shell Mountains.
Okay, something to ponder.
So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully we get like a good comedic mix of Game of Thrones with the ridiculousness of the setting itself. So.
Comedic Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm hoping I'm going to be a part of this one.
So that's something fun to look forward to.
I found on my last trip down to the San Francisco Bay Area, I was going through Berkeley Games, one of the bigger and arguably one of the best game stores in the Bay Area. And in there, I found there is a Terminator role-playing game.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, which was as you were saying, like, not really advertised, because I didn't see anything about it.
I don't know how that thing escaped me. So talk about franchises. Terminator rates easily my top 3. I'm trying to think if it really isn't number 1. Firefly's still there, so it's number 2. But this is something where I've always thought it would be amazing to play in. There was an old Terminator game by a company called Leading Edge Games. Pretty much ignore that. Instead, we have this new one, which came out of nowhere, and I've just started reading it. But I will tell you, I'm going to be hard-pressed not to run something. It's going to have to be a really bad game, really bad background information. There's a main book, a campaign book, and a quick start rules. And for any of you that have game stores near you that you don't know about this, talk to your game store owner. If they're not willing to get anything in, at least see if they can get the $10 quick start rules. Because it's got pre-generated characters and a basic idea of how to play the game. It's a D10s game.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and they have coming, of course, because everyone has to do this, they have coming a dice set.
Of course.
With the I believe it is the T880, their own creation for the game as far as I can tell. It's going to have its head emblazoned on the dice. And they talk in the very beginning that their story, background, outline, their Bible is not just Terminator the movies. It also includes the Dark Horse Terminator comics.
Oh, okay.
And it also appears to include the Fox series Terminator the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That's it. So a lot of amazing stuff to pull from. So I'm just going to say in the far future, that might happen as well.
Yeah, I mean, we got a solid selection, and like always, there's even more that will pop into our head and be like, I really want to, it's always the trouble with role players, especially game masters. There's more games than you have time to play.
Very much so. Well, Pedro, at this point then, I think we should save this and do the normal thing where we say, we'll see you again soon.
That's right.
We're trying to do this monthly.
Yes.
We have a good excuse to do it next month. Again, we're going to DunDraCon in February, so we will hopefully get something out of that and get together and record.
Get something
we
out
will.
of that.
We will. We're going to tell you we will. So at this point then, I will say good night. Auf Wiedersehen, everyone.
Good night, and until next time, thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on another NCRP Productions podcast. We couldn't do this without you, so please like and subscribe everywhere we're found, including YouTube, Facebook, Anchor, Google, Apple, Spotify, and other great podcast sites. If you'd like to help us continue making more content, we'd love to have your support on our Patreon. And if you have any feedback for us, please feel free to comment on our podcasts or email us directly at ncrpproductions@gmail.com. That's ncrpproductions@gmail.com. And we'd like to give a special shout out to our current patrons, MD Parker 4, Chef Francis, Crowman 76, Loading Mad Cat, M. Coling, November Stevenson, and Rosix 13. Thank you all. We truly, truly appreciate it.